I recently picked up a new hobby, creating a self-sustaining micro ecosystem inside a jar. I'm having fun doing it, although I must admit I still have a lot to learn. I know I will be making a lot of mistakes, but it's going to be an educational journey nonetheless. Come join me on this journey of making terrariums and see how far it'll take us. First, let's start off by looking at the different types of glass jars and glass bottles that we can use to make our terrarium. I purchased these cookie jars and other containers at IKEA. Some are under $5 and some are a little less than $10. If you're on a budget, old mayonnaise jars, peanut butter jars, and even salt and pepper containers will work just as well. Just make sure they're made of glass, and when you peel off the labels, wash and clean them thoroughly with plain water to remove any contaminants. But for today's demonstration, I'm going to show you why these containers work for me. First, we have this medium-sized cookie jar with a transparent glass lid. The glass lid allows light to shine through from the top. Next, we have this flip-top jar that provides an airtight seal to your terrarium and keeps the moisture content at a consistent level. The rubber gasket around the lid ensures nothing gets in and out of the jar. Here we have a medium-sized cookie jar with a wooden lid. There is also a rubber gasket around the lid to make the jar airtight. This tall cylindrical jar with a flip-top lid is perfect for housing tall plants and decors. And finally, my favorite jar. This is a large cookie jar with a wooden lid. The jar is slightly tapered towards the lip, yet it still provides an ample opening to fit your entire hand inside. Very easy to work with. For today's demonstration, we will be using the large cookie jar to house our terrarium. As with most glass jars, make sure to position the glass seam towards the side for an unobstructed view of your terrarium. As I've said in the beginning, I'm choosing this type of jar because of the ease of use and the large opening of the mouth. Make sure the inside of your jar is thoroughly cleaned. Use a pair of tweezers and a damp or dry paper towel to clean the inside of your jar. In preparing the drainage layer of your terrarium, there are a few different materials you can use, like small pebbles and rocks. My preferred material is leca. I am using leca for my drainage layer as it is lightweight and is capable of holding a lot of moisture. Leca is sometimes referred to as hydroponic clay balls. Pour some leca into your jar and gently thump it with your hand. For this size jar, about 1 to 2 centimeters is enough. Before we can put in our substrate, we need to create a substrate barrier to prevent the material from seeping into the drainage layer. For this, I use plastic window mesh and cut it to match the bottom of the jar. You can cut it slightly bigger than the base to be able to cover the sides of the jar as well. The purpose of the barrier is to prevent stagnant water from sitting on the substrate and becoming stale. This ensures you have a clean and healthy soil for your plants to thrive on. Press the mesh onto the drainage layer until it lays flat on top of the leca. Work your way towards the sides so that those areas are also covered. It's time to prepare our substrate mix. For this demonstration, I'm using 2 parts sphagnum moss, a 1/4 part orchid bark, a 1/4 part horticultural charcoal, a 1/4 part worm castings, and a 1/4 part plant food. Additionally, you can also include cocoa fiber to the mix. After you have gathered and measured all your materials, you can use a small tub to mix them all together. Give it a good mix until you reach a nice consistency. If you intend to create multiple terrariums, you can mix some extra amount to set aside for future use. Using a small scoop, fill the jar with the substrate mix that you just created. About as thick as the drainage layer. Make sure to slope it towards the back to create an illusion of depth. Tap it gently to make sure all areas are covered. Notice the slope of the terrain. You can use different types of materials for your hardscape. There are dragonstone, lava rocks, slates, etc. Here I'm using some slates that I picked up from the park during my evening walks. If the rocks cannot stand firmly on its own, you can wedge it into place with smaller rocks and stones. Another thing that can add feature to your terrarium are different types of wood like driftwood, spiderwood, or cholla roots. I don't want to spend much on woods in such a small terrarium, so I improvised by picking up some dried and broken twigs on the park floor. I carefully removed the bark, soak it in water for a week, and let it dry in the sun, then sand it down. These twigs and branches mimics the features of trees in the forest and looks quite interesting in a terrarium. Time to cover the terrarium floor with moss. I use pincushion moss, sphagnales, and golden club moss for this purpose. Try to spread the shorter moss in the front and the taller moss around the back. If the moss are too clumped up together, cut them into smaller chunks so you can plant them easily. Use a pair of tweezers to position them on the desired spots. For store-bought plants, remove the soil that came with the plant when you purchase them. Clean them down to the roots before planting. Pick a suitable plant for your terrarium. Some popular species are peperomia, ferns, baby tears, and polka dot plant. Do not overcrowd your terrarium. Remember, give enough room for them to grow. Trim off some of the top leaves to encourage growth. Add some small rocks to the front for accenting the terrarium. After setting up your terrarium, use a spray bottle to lightly mist your plants. Just enough to dampen the substrate, but not too much to create too much moisture. Remember, it is easier to remedy too little water than to remedy too much water. Use a pair of tweezers and paper towel to clean up the excess water and moisture. It's also very helpful to get a small water bottle with a bent nozzle to easily control your watering. To make your terrarium bioactive, add some live springtails into the container. They will act as your cleanup crew and eat up molds and decaying matter. Their waste will also function as fertilizer for your plants. Don't worry about the springtails overpopulating your terrarium. They tend to self-regulate their population depending on the size of the environment.